This video explains how to create an isometric drawing of a part by using its orthographic views. The drawings shown on the screen are the front view, top view, and side view of the object. These are two-dimensional technical views. The aim is to transfer the information from these views correctly and obtain the three-dimensional isometric representation of the part. First, the isometric axes are prepared. Draw a horizontal reference line and mark a center point on it. Then, place the protractor on the center point. Mark the 30-degree directions on both sides of the horizontal line, and mark the 90-degree direction vertically upward. Now draw straight lines through these marked points and the center. The two inclined lines at 30 degrees represent the isometric directions. One of them is the x-axis, and the other is the z-axis. The vertical line represents the y-axis. With this step, the isometric axis system is ready. Before starting the object drawing, it is important to decide which orthographic view will be placed on which isometric plane. The front view can be drawn on the y-x plane or on the y-z plane. However, it cannot be drawn on the x-z plane. The top view is always represented on the x-z plane. In this example, the views are interpreted according to the first angle projection method. According to the viewing direction, the front view corresponds to the YZ plane, while the side view corresponds to the XY plane. The drawing starts from the side view, which is placed on the XY plane. According to the given orthographic views, the total length of the object is 80 mm, and the total height is 50 mm. First, draw a vertical line of 20 mm along the y-axis. From the end of this line, draw an 80 mm line in the x-axis direction. At the end of this 80 mm line, draw a 50 mm vertical line upward. Then, from the top of this vertical line, draw a 25 mm line parallel to the x-axis. Now return to the first 20 mm vertical line. From its top point, draw a 40 mm line parallel to the x-axis. At the end of this 40 mm line, draw a 15 mm vertical line upward. Finally, connect this point to the upper point on the right side with an inclined line. At this stage, the outer profile of the part, as seen from the side view, has been completed on the isometric plane. Now the depth of the object is added. According to the front view, the total depth of the part is 60 mm. This depth must be transferred in the z-axis direction. Starting from the bottom reference point of the side view, draw a 60 mm line parallel to the z-axis. Then, from the top of the 20 mm vertical line, draw another 60 mm line in the same direction. Continue this process from the key corner points of the side profile. From the end point of the 40 mm line, draw a 60 mm depth line parallel to the z-axis. Similarly, draw 60 mm depth lines from the end points of the 15 mm and 50 mm vertical lines. These depth lines transform the two-dimensional side profile into a three-dimensional isometric form and define the main volume of the object. Now complete the isometric drawing by connecting the corresponding endpoints. First, connect the rear endpoints of the depth lines with lines parallel to the y-axis and x-axis. From the endpoint of the lower 60 mm depth line, draw a 20 mm vertical line upward, parallel to the y-axis. Then, where required, draw the next vertical segment of 15 mm. After that, draw the horizontal and inclined edges by following the same directions as the original side profile. Draw the 40 mm line parallel to the x-axis. Then add the upper horizontal edge of the part. Finally, complete the slanted edge by connecting the related corner points. At this point, the three-dimensional form of the object becomes clearly visible. The dimensions taken from the orthographic views have been transferred correctly to the isometric axes. The depth, height, and length relationships have also been preserved. Now check the drawing carefully. Vertical edges must remain parallel to the y-axis. Length edges must follow the x-axis direction. Depth edges must follow the z-axis direction. This is the basic rule for creating a clean and accurate isometric drawing. By following these steps, the isometric view of the part has been obtained from its orthographic views. Once the relationship between orthographic views and isometric axes is understood, the same method can be applied to more complex parts.